Hello, and welcome back to another episode of 10 Minutes of Astrology. Today we are going to be talking about Mars in Virgo in 2036. Now, to explain what Mars is, it is action, war, determination, motivation is the things that you do. Virgo is the master critique of the zodiac. Now, if you've followed me for a while, you know that I have some biases against Virgo. Those are personal pet peeves. I will try and keep those out of this as best as I can. If you're not sure what we're doing here, you can check the housekeeping in the comments where you will find more information about me and who I am, the readings that I offer, and I have an astrology predictions playlist that map out the next 20 or so years. If you are interested in hearing about my take on what I believe will be happening in the future. What you're seeing here is a real-time, step-by-step how I quote-unquote see the future. And you get to follow along with me. I used to do this, take notes, and then make a video. So that way I had time to actually think about all these alignments before I discussed my views. But I have found that you following along and seeing how I do it just makes it a little bit more interactive, I think. Now, what I will not discuss is planets that I have not discussed before in previous videos. So you won't hear me talk a lot about the sun, the moon, Mercury, or Venus. What you will hear me, and I also don't discuss the nodes, what you will hear me talk about in videos like these are Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, planets that I have already made videos on. So here we see a semi-sextile between Uranus and Chiron that is taking a while throughout all of this. I do enjoy semi-sextiles, but I also enjoy learning. I have a North Node in Sagittarius. We also have an alignment to the South Node in Lilith, other things that I also don't typically discuss. So just bear with me as I find the first alignment that I do want to discuss. And I believe it's going to be to this Chiron and Uranus here. That perhaps may be stationing one or two of them. Yeah, so the first alignment here, we have a couple of things going on. We have a sextile to Uranus in Cancer and a square to Chiron in Gemini. Uranus is semi-sextile in Chiron and is in the teaching position here. I may or may not have discussed this in my Chiron video, but 18 degrees is past the midway point in astrology, so we've gotten over some big humps, some big hurdles. Let's first discuss the let's discuss the sextile to Uranus first, since that's more of a positive, and then we'll go to the negative square to Chiron. So the positive with Uranus in Cancer is, all right, so if Mars in Virgo is actively critiquing things, actively trying to be as detail-oriented as possible and get all the fine little ducks into the perfect rows, because Virgo has everything on lock with Mars and Virgo, okay? Mars and Virgo don't play around with the details. They have got it down to a science. It is perfect. With the sextile to Uranus, this crazy, chaotic, emotional stuff with your mom and your family and maternal figures. So we have the details of those crazy chaos emotions on lock. Like, if we're going to do it and if we're going to get crazy sideways emotionally, like, at least we are going deep, okay? This is a time where we are emotionally filtering this stuff out, figuring it out. Virgo is thoughtful. They plan it through. They know what their action is about. And they are matching this crazy chaos emotion with, okay, if I have got to deal with my mental and emotional health, we gonna get to the root of it, because Virgo is an earth sign. Them roots go deep. Cancer is an emotional sign. Them waters run deep. Things are sideways because of Cancer, but still, if you are gonna finally heal and finally figure it out and finally get to and this is not like fire energy here. This is actually healing energy of, look, if we're gonna fix us, if we're gonna fix these emotions, if we're gonna fix this chaos, if we're gonna work on it, we're gonna get to the root of it, we're gonna get to the detail, and we're gonna actually fix it now. Great positive. Love that. The square to Chiron. So Chiron is about helping other people heal. Okay? It's what you struggle to heal within yourself, which is going to be your mental, it's your duality because we're in Gemini. Now, Uranus is teaching Chiron at this time, which is the crazy chaos within your family and within your emotions takes precedent of whatever back and forth in your mind that you think is healing is not actually healing. No, we need to be here with our family and with our motherland or with our homeland because, again, Cancer is a very, very patriotic sign. So in the chaos of our home and with our family and with our emotions, that's going to take precedence over, okay, but I can't think straight and I'm thinking in every which way direction and I'm trying to heal everybody else and I'm trying to heal myself and I'm trying to da-da-da-da-da. Like, no, we don't have time for the mental back and forth. We just gonna sit here and cry in the chaos. And that's what we're doing here. That's how we're gonna heal. So I told you before in a previous video, it might even been the Chiron and Gemini video, that Uranus and Cancer here, even if you feel like your healing isn't the direction you need to take to heal, it could actually be the direction because we have Gemini here, which is duality. So if you think that it's the wrong thing to do, it may actually be the right thing to do. And if you think that this is the right way to do it, that could actually be completely wrong and is backtracking you and backsliding you from that healing. So in order to actually heal yourself and help heal others, you've got to feel it. And that's, for a lot of us, that is a foreign idea and a foreign concept and strange and confusing. And like, it's not something that most of us are going to be comfortable with, but I'm also seeing this in a 2026 lens. I haven't yet seen it in the 2036 lens. So here it may be nationally acceptable, worldwide acceptable, that people just cry en masse. And that's okay, and that's now socially acceptable. We're not in that decade from now, so we don't actually know. But here it's showing that crazy chaos emotions, sometimes you have to be emotional. Sometimes you have to let loose. Sometimes you have to bawl your eyes out. Sometimes you have to grab you a punching bag and do an hour of cardio to feel better. And so releasing those crazy chaos and that crazy amount of emotions is teaching Chiron, no, having these emotional outbursts is healing. Don't ask me why that makes sense. It'll probably make a lot more sense when we get closer to that time period. Now, Mars square Chiron and Gemini is, okay, so actively we try to keep ourselves together, get into all the details, versus we're trying to help heal others and heal ourselves mentally and emotionally, and it's back and forth, and we don't actually know what we're doing. So these are at conflict with one another, and I want to say that the answer is going to be with Uranus and Cancer. And this sounds absolutely nonsense to me and crazy to me. I'm sure it will make more sense when we get to that time period. But as far as I'm concerned right now, acting to get to the root of it, if it's confusing your healing, and if your healing is getting every which way direction, it's windy and confusing, then trying to bear down into the details may also not be helpful. So simply experiencing your emotions, as much chaos as they may actually be the answer to this crazy emotional chaos, which, maybe I do need to start taking more time to actually dive into the details before I do these videos again, because something like that blows my mind. Like, I don't understand it a whole lot right now, but sure, I'm gonna let it slide because we moving on. This is an in conjunct to Pluto in Aquarius. Now, if you have anything at 19 degrees in Aries, this will create a yod to Mars in Virgo. But we're not talking about that because we got nothing like that here. I just wanted to briefly pop that up and mention that to Aries. Now, inconjuncts are mild inconveniences and difficult. And because we just had this emotional trying to heal, can't heal, get into the details chaos from all of what we just talked about, this mild inconvenience is socially transforming your friendships and your relationships, and getting into the details of those things that are transforming may not be helpful right now. It may not be what you want to act on. You may not want to be critiquing your friends and your friend groups and society right now. It could be that, what do they call Big Daddy Tech that watches over you, Uncle Sam, constantly monitoring you. You may not want to critique the state at large, or society or your country, because it could backfire on you in a very social way. All the same, the bigger things in society do need to get the details in order so that the bigger society can function. So these two things are in conjunct right now and not getting along and not jiving. And it's an uncomfortable conversation and moment, especially with society at large, gathering these details, and the details that need to be gathered may not be looking so hot for the crazy society at large. So I am looking forward to seeing how that bit plays out in society. It's a very interesting alignment. And now, obviously, I don't know the future. I am simply predicting what I feel like is going to be happening in the future. And as you all know, anytime that you put something out into the universe, it's usually going to happen, but slightly different than how you predicted. So usually what happens with my predictions is that it'll be just a little bit off. Some of the details will be just slightly, it's not exactly what it is that I said. And I'm totally fine with that, because there are some things that I say that I hope don't happen, right? And then there are other things that I really hope happen, and then they don't happen as magically and miraculously as I, hoped that they would when I predicted them. So that's not as great. But when it does come close, cool. I don't expect perfection from me, just like you shouldn't expect perfection from anyone else. The next alignment that we have is another square to Jupiter, this time in Gemini. So this big duality versus acting in the details. And this square isn't as hard as some of the other squares that are in the zodiac, especially with cardinal signs. I would argue that cardinal signs are the worst squares. So this square is in mutable signs, which basically means that this plays in the background. Jupiter is not really a background player, though, and in Gemini, anything can pop off in either direction and spiral that way. And now Jupiter is a planet of luck and philosophy. So your philosophies could be going back and forth. And Mars is like, no, pick one. Mars in Virgo is like, no, pick whatever it is that you're going to believe in and believe in that and argue that. But saying that you can believe in all of it and none of it and this and that and all, like Mars in Virgo is like, give me an answer. What is and Jupiter in Gemini is... I think that Jupiter and Gemini here is going to distract. They're going to basically any conversation that comes up. I forget her name, Pam Bondi, when she was interrogated, I want to say on Capitol Hill or somewhere, or in front of Congress or something. And she was like, the Dow is up 50 points. Like that was like, intentionally not addressing the problem. So I think that's what Jupiter and Gemini is going to do here, is you're going to ask them a question and they're going to be like, the Dow is up 50 points. So, I don't think that this bigger communication, because Jupiter is large scale kind of national communication, versus Mars and Virgo, which is trying to get the details. I don't think that Jupiter is going to answer the question. I think Mars is going to hound, no, we need an answer to this. And Jupiter is going to shapeshift and, go this way, that way about it. and we're not going to get and reach the conclusion that we're hoping for. And, Gemini is trying to sidestep Virgo's interrogation here, is kind of what I see. Let's move on. I believe the last alignment we're going to discuss is Neptune, and I really have been enjoying these different Neptune alignments. So, however, in this context, we have an inconjunct. And just so you know, anybody that has anybody that has anything at 26 in Aquarius will be experiencing a yod during this inconjunct. Now, an inconjunct, again, is an irritating aspect, and we've got Neptune retrograde, which is not that big of a deal, in Aries, which is God taking power, taking control, going head first, being the strength, being, you ain't gonna mess with somebody that's got God on their side. Like, very aggressive God here. In conjunct, Mars trying to get into the details, and God is like, how's that working for you? How is stressing trying to get every single duck in a row working out for you? It's not, is it? And Mars is like, I just want the answer. I just want it to be clear. I just need this information so that I can move on. And Neptune and Aries is like, you gonna get it when I give it to you. So, thankfully, this is a short-lived, mild irritant. Please don't get in a fight with God at this time, because you're going to lose, because God is very aggressive at this time. Now, Neptune in Aries also has a way of affecting our sleep, and it could be that you're very restless, especially with Mars in conjunct, which is active in a Virgo. Like, you're trying to get the details of your sleep, and, there's probably going to be another round of sleep information scientifically coming up somewhere in all of this, since we do have Pluto in Aquarius, and a lot of technology has improved. So if you're tracking your sleep, it could be that you're kind of focusing too much on tracking it rather than the quality of your sleep. But I definitely see some sort of sleep disruption here as well. Now that I've gone double of 10 minutes of astrology, it seems like I keep doing that with these type of videos that I'm making here recently. So I may, again, go back and reevaluate whether or not I continue wanting to do this follow-along approach. If you could let me know your thoughts in the comments of this follow-along approach versus me looking into it and then providing the details after the fact so that you have a shorter video to watch, please let me know in the comments whether you like this follow-along style or, hey, just give it to me once you've looked at it. The last thing that I want to mention is this conjunction to the sun at 29 degrees. I really like that. That is beautiful. And I believe that we had just had a new moon. So this is new action in the details. This is kind of a new breath, a new life, a new wind of information that really locks you in. And I love that. So we're going to end here by saying that Mars enters into Libra approximately September 22nd, 2036. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out, fam, and much love.